Also with us this morning, we have the chairman of the Missouri Highway and Transportation Commission with us, Mr. Steve Miller, and he's going to offer his report on the existing funding conditions here in the state of Missouri. So, Mr. Miller.
Dan, thank you very much. And Rocky, thank you for being with us today. I think what is important to point out, Rocky, about your group is that you are an objective third party from outside Missouri that looks at transportation issues and funding needs throughout the country, and that you've come to Missouri at this time to deliver what is, again, an objective view by someone else regarding our system. And Rocky, you know, I've been going around the state talking about how dire our funding situation is here in Missouri, but I have to admit that in the report that you just delivered, you gave me new insights as to exactly how serious that condition is. So, for instance, what I heard in your report, and it's a stunning number to me, is that our failure to invest in transportation is costing Missourians $4.5 billion per year. And that comes out to a figure of $1,327 per person. That is an unbelievable number. And what makes it more astounding to me is how simply we can begin addressing the problem. Right now in Jefferson City, there is legislation that's pending that's sitting in our Senate. All our senators want is the opportunity to be able to vote on that, to hear their voices of their constituents heard. But through parliamentary and procedural matters and reasons, it's being blocked. That modest first step would call for just a 2-cent increase in our gas tax. What that means in real dollars to Missourians is it would cost you about $15 more a year, about $1 a month. And that $1 a month allows us to start chipping away at the huge economic loss that you're talking about, $4.5 billion, $1,327 per person. Now, how the other thing that it allows us to do that is stunning to me, that if we don't begin to act now, Missourians are going to lose our federal dollars. And those federal dollars aren't somebody else's dollars. Those federal dollars are Missourian tax dollars that were collected when Missourians paid their federal portion of the fuel tax, 18.3 cents. And it went to Washington. And we get that money back in Missouri. And actually, the problem is not Washington. Washington gives us that money back on very favorable terms. For every $1 that we raise locally here in Missouri through our own gas tax or other revenue, the federal government gives us $4. So it's a good deal for us. We get more back. We can leverage our money. So we're going to get $4 back for every amount that we pay into an increase in that gas tax on that ratio. But there's a consequence that if we don't have the locally raised revenue, which Senator Leibla's bill in the Senate would help us to do, if we don't have that, we lose our federal tax dollars. And beginning in fiscal year 2017, and that may sound a ways off to people, but that's not. Fiscal year for the government starts, for us in MoDOT, starts July 1 of 2016. That's 14 months from now. And the reality is that unless we begin doing something right now, this session, in the Missouri General Assembly, that we stand to lose $167 million in our federal tax money. And guess what? The message that we've sent to the General Assembly is this is not one of those issues you can continue to kick down the road. The failure to act this year will have dire consequences. That even if you start with that 2-cent increase next year, it is too late to save the loss of these federal monies. We will still suffer a loss even if we start, so we cannot kick the can down the road. And the consequences become only more dire. In 2018, that number increases to $400 million, and $400 million each year thereafter. All because we in Missouri do not have the willingness not to give the money to somebody else, but to invest in ourselves, to invest in our own economic opportunities, to invest in our own safety, to invest in our own jobs, to invest in our own children, to invest in our own futures. And I keep asking why? We aren't sending these monies anyplace else. We're laying them out and we're getting $4 in return. And why can't we do it? How is it that we have lost the vision of our parents and our grandparents that saw the opportunity to invest in America as something noble, and that the way we did that was through modest tax increases? Where have we lost our way, and how do we find it again? And all of that is coming to a head right now in Jefferson City, when all we want to do is have our elected representatives the opportunity to vote. Those that disagree can vote no, but at least allow the voices to be heard. And so, Rocky, your message today could not be more timely to us. What possible excuse can be offered for not allowing our elected representatives to vote on an opportunity to begin addressing the $4.5 million that we suffer, and the opportunity to reclaim for ourselves the monies that we have already paid into the federal government? And I've talked about money. I haven't even begun to talk about the consequences of what it is for our system. You know, it's not by accident that we stand here looking over the Broadway Bridge and we're here in Kansas City. I'm a native of Kansas City, grew up my entire life here. You know, remember putting a dime in the toll booth every time we went over the Broadway Bridge to pay for it. Now, we pulled those out a number of years ago, but we have a bridge right now that is teetering on the edge of being in critical condition. We have a bridge that's well over 50 years old, wasn't designed to current standards. We have now a vital artery. When this was connected, the Northland was very little there. Now, our Northland is the fastest growing area of our region. The health of the Northland is tied to the health of our region, and we have a tremendous bottleneck right here. Not only do we have a bridge that must be replaced, but if you look at the approaches coming in, I mean, we're carrying major highways in to our urban area, and we have stoplights. We have odd angles for approaches. We have unsafe conditions, and every morning and every evening we have bottleneck that goes, Rocky, exactly to what your group found. That is, we have the loss of money to every single person in this region that has to travel this area, result of congestion, which means sitting there and waiting 20, 30, 40 minutes to get across this bridge. We have the rough roads, the irregular approaches, and of course we have the safety issues. You know, and in Missouri, let's not forget the idea of safety issues. The one thing that struck me when I took over on this commission was that my children were becoming drivers at that point in time. And at that point in time, in Missouri, we had over 1,200 deaths a year. Now, we were able to borrow some money to help make safety improvements. And we saw a direct correlation between investment and the saving of lives. And we saw that we dropped from 1,200 deaths per year to a little bit over 700 deaths per year. But that's leveling out because our investment in much needed safety is stalling out. And that's a frightening thing. Every time I watch my children get in a car and buckle up, you know, I take a deep breath, because that many lives is a stunning number to us. And again, I ask the people in Jeff City, why aren't we willing to invest in saving lives? And I will profess, I don't understand it. And if there's an urgency in my voice, it's because we are down to the last moments of the legislative session. If things do not move forward this year, there will be consequences for Missouri. We as a department are going to do all we can to minimize those, but there will be real consequences. So, Rocky, again, a loud thank you to your group for, again, bringing another spotlight from a national group on the situation that we face here in Missouri. And let's hope that your voice, added to many others, will move the needle with our legislators. Thank you very much.